morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Julia, you have to greet your hospitality hour because we got in church. I'm good. I apologize for starting a little late. Just about 5 minutes ago, we learned that one of our members passed away in the night. Glenn Wells' mother, Lucille. And she was on our list to go caroling today. She had been in a great deal of pain. And from my summation of it, she was ready. She was just kind of hanging out waiting. And she passed away in her sleep, which is what all of us pray to do. And so there's blessings, and yet he lost his mama. It's hard. So we're going to light a candle for Lucille today. And she's not been able to come to church. She's been visited faithfully by Reverend Susan. And we'll just think of Janet and Glenn. They're supposed to run our sacred conversation today on allies and friends, the P flag of LGBTQ folks. And they said, we trust everybody will just carry on. I said, of course. So let's have a moment of silence as we think of our dear Lucille. Let's pray again. Oh God, we give you thanks for the long life of Lucille Wells. Faithful, faithful, faithful. Be with her family. Be with our beloved Glenn and Janet as they grieve, as they rush to figure out what to do before Christmas. Help Lucille and her family know how deep and how wide your love is for her today and always. So we give you thanks. And may we be the source of comfort for the Wellses as their church, as their friends. And we pray this in your strong name. Amen. Amen. The one thing Lucille would be sure to say is, carry on. She was one of those. Carry on. Today is our third Sunday of Advent, and it's all about joy. It's the pink candle, so it stands out, and it's from the first word of the ancient liturgy, Gaudet, meaning rejoice. So I just went back to my favorite Advent hymn. I love this one, and you can't sing it enough in my book. But we're going to do the first two verses. Let's do number 116, O come, Emmanuel. Let's stand and worship.
So good.
feeling. It's not, oh, I'm happy today. That's different. Joy is the well you draw on because you know something good is there. That's how it gets you through. And so, it's also a choice. You choose joy. So today, that's your response. I choose what? Despair?
Joy.
Joy.
No. Depression? Misery? No. I choose joy. Because the world is full of misery. This week alone, how many tragedies have happened? How many stressors are you under? But we get to do what? I choose joy. And because we know the source of that joy, we get to say yes to it. We get to embrace it. And so today, of all days, in the face of death, what do we choose? I choose joy. Let's pray together. Oh God, it's so easy to lose sight of that. Joy can seem elusive, or we get sidetracked by the misery. Help us to dig deep into the gift you have given us in the Christ. For in it we will find, for in Christ we can know joy, in spite of everything else. So God, we don't ask you to take away everything, because that's not going to happen. We ask you for the joy so we can endure. And we give you thanks that in a little over a week, that joy will be born again. And we pray this in his name. Have a seat, friends. Now invite our family that's doing our Advent read up, and the choir sings a little something, right? Wonderful. And then Justine and Miarella will do our Advent lighting, and we set the mic right in. And then you all have Light of Hope as a song, right? Let's can you just kind of teach that real quick, that little ditty again? Oh, the first part that the choir sings is what we sing later, so we'll find them. And if not, just act like you're singing it. No, I'm just kidding. Let's do it. All right? Choir's all yours. And Tom found us that little Advent thing we've used each week, and we'll finish it next week on the fourth Sunday and Christmas Sunday. So Tom, thank you for that. Now I think we have a tree. Inside on our prayer request, we have a lot. A lot of folks that we're thinking of particularly. Of course, we think of Jen, Glenn, and Janet. As you can see on there, if you just follow down, Pablo and Migdalia Colon is Pablo Colon's parents, and they're both in the hospital. And he's I think they're in West Hartford, so he's trying to take care of them, and so he asked that we lift them in prayer. Liz Dunn is not doing very well. She's going through another rough patch, and if you could go sit with her, be with her so George can continue to work as long as possible. They're thinking about hospice care, but until that, they're really dependent on friends and church family. So just see Lynn Hudler, and she's organizing all that. And Lynn's got her own weight to carry today, is her mother, Joan. She fell and broke this bone here. And she's at Lord Chamberlain, and she's doing a little better, right, Lenny? A little bit better, but it's hard, isn't it? Because she's trying to do everything that I dump on her here for work, and handle her family, and her mother, and. So we're thinking of you as much as we are your mother, Lynn. And you're carrying a lot right now. And we think of Joan. She wants to come home. Can't come home without a handicap ramp. Well, those don't just magically appear. So Lynn's got a lot on her plate. And so just love on her extra today, okay? I mean, she changed sides. Just so you know something's up, right? And Elba Mendez Martinez is Denise Colon's and Kim Martinez's common grandmother. And she's not doing very well, so we're thinking of her. John Olson is actually doing a little bit better, but we got word that we cannot go carol there today because they've been booked for 3 months. Not to fear, we have local people. So I have caroling sheets that Ms. Lori made for us and a map thing with directions. So we've got 4 other people we're going to go and carol that are our homebound. And it's not just kids. We have a little sack lunch for everybody. We're going to eat here for the carols, not just for everybody else. See, John Stasher perked up because he saw, oh, lunch. No, you have to go caroling to get the lunch. And then we'll go, and we've got the directions. We'll all go together. It'll be a joyful thing. I think good for our kids, but good for all of us. They need joy too. So we'll think about them. Now, if you follow on down, Samantha and JP. This is a young couple that found us on Facebook, on Nourish Facebook, on Thanksgiving Eve. And Ms. Lori and I were driving in that awful weather to New Hampshire, and so we were trying to help them. She's newly pregnant. They're very, very poor. They know that they can't do all that they need to do for their baby. And yet, little JP, this sweet young man, I mean, he needs a mama, and now he's making one. So anyway, he did all this without telling the woman to surprise her. So we put it out to Anne Marie Trumbull Moms because they got more stuff and God, I think, up there. And all of a sudden the baby stuff just came, and Lori and I delivered it on Tuesday or Wednesday, and she didn't know. He surprised her with all this baby stuff. And that was a real, but it's she's high risk, gestational diabetes. So we're thinking that's who Samantha and JP. And the last thing Lori said to them is, we will pray for you. And so that's what we're going to do, right? And of course, we're thinking of dear Lucille. And Judy Wilkinson, we want to lift her up. She's doing better, but she's afraid to get out, which, I get. If I fall, I just got better. So I get it. So we want to think about Judy. And then I added one, shelter. Lynn and Lise are our co-directors of our shelter. It's going to hit this week because it's going to be cold, and we don't have enough volunteers. And all it is watching people sleep on a cot. But it will save their life. The shelter is a short-lived program, but impactful. And I need your help. So see Lynn or Lise if you want to help with that. And we don't have to break the cots up and down this year, but we do have to come and watch them sleep. So if you're like one of those that can't do much at 3 in the morning, yourself of sleeping, come watch people. That would really help. So those are the prayer concerns that I want to lift up today. And I know you have other ones on your heart. As we prepare for that, let's sing Emmanuel. You all know this, the words are in your voice. Oh God, our midwinter does seem a bit bleak. Not just gray skies and rainy nights, the cold wind, and the colder hearts. There's so much we are carrying right now. Things that we don't know how to handle. Things that may handle us. We come to you, God, even as your promise is you will come to us, Emmanuel, and be with us. You could show up a little sooner, maybe. We need you to come and bring light into our shadows, bring hope into our despair, and yes, to fill our reservoir of joy. God, we think of all the ones we named, the Colognes, our dear Liz and George Dunn, and Joan, and Elba, Reverend John, and Samantha and JP, who have no idea what they're getting into with this baby. But you know about bringing babies into the world and the hope that they bring. We think of the Wellses and Judy. We think of those people that will come seeking shelter with us. May we show up. We think of our dear Alvin facing surgery. We think of all those others who don't want ever to be named, but they're hurting. They need you. We trust that you know who they are. Help our community hold fast together to live live into that ideal of a peaceable kingdom. Or even when we disagree, we love each other. Even when things are hard, we press forward. Even when things are scary, we summon your courage to press on. So God, come as soon as you can, please. Oh, come, Emmanuel. We need you. Fill our hearts. Fill our lives. Make us your people. And so now we gather our hearts and our minds as we pray the prayer that gives us everything we need, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Julia?
As we face the cold winter and the dark skies and the days earlier and earlier, we long for light and hope, warmth. As the hardness of the world seems to surround us constantly, we long for hope. We long for someone, something that can break through our malaise and bring us joy. Hear these ancient words that speak to this longing, and good news for the one who will come to us. Elijah 9, verses 2 through 7. The people who walk in darkness have seen a great light. Those who live in the land of darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you with the joys at the harvest. For the yoke of their burden, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressors, you have broken on this day of Midian. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders. He is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and righteousness from the time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. In conclusion, for a child has born for us, for you, for me. May we seize this moment and let the light shine on our shadowed places. And may we be filled with the good things which will bring us joy. Amen.
Now in your hymnal number 129, we're just going to, this one's usually a really I want us to do it more meditatively. Good first Christian friends rejoice, verse 1 and 2. And then after my sermon, we're going to sing verse 2 again. So pay attention to the words. I'm always thinking.
Christian friends rejoice.
people. Okay. This third Sunday of Advent centers us on joy. It's the first word of the ancient Mass Gaudet, meaning rejoice. That's the first word worshipers would hear all the way back to the 4th century when they entered church on the third Sunday of Advent. And just think what we sang today. Rejoice, rejoice. Gaudet, Gaudet, Emmanuel shall come to you, O Israel. Good Christian friends, what? Rejoice. Weep. Wail. Rejoice. Gaudet. You notice the little third is pink. Just so we let that stand out and we don't miss that the whole shindig of Christmas is supposed to be about what? Joy. And because all of us could use a good dose of it. Am I right? Yeah. Because we look at things and we just say, and yet, yesterday marked 7 years of parents grieving their children just up the road in Newtown. We still can't quite grasp it. Today we will hear from parents who love their LGBTQ kids when the world and some churches, not us, but some churches, tell them not to. We got parents and grandparents worried about their kids and their grandkids, school, chronic illness. Will they make healthy choices? And can you make them? We have grown kids worried about their elderly parents. We have people in our own church facing cancer and surgery, living with pain and illness. You know when you hurt all the time? You hurt all the time. And then you pick up the newspaper. Bodies are being recovered from a volcano. I mean, when do you ever hear that happening? Oh, this week, because what's one more thing? Young teens stab a college student to death in New York City. Our friends at Salem Lutheran are hosting a forum on human trafficking because guess where it's growing more than any place in Connecticut? Bridgeport. Children and women snatched and made into the slave trade for sex. And trust me, that's not sex. You all know that, right? And our country is torn and in conflict. Thursday, as I went around and I greeted all of our people at Feel the Warmth, and Mary Jane will tell you it was crazy, but it was a good crazy, wasn't it? You and I couldn't move the next day, but that was worth it, right? So many more of them are now living outside. Why? Because I heard they did the clean out in Greenwich and Stamford. And guess where they land? Bridgeport. Because we don't clean them out. We let them stay. But it means, guess who's going to be in our shelter Wednesday night? But so many of them, I'd come up to them and their hands are worn. A lot of them work in the summer. And I said, do you have any work? No work. It's too cold. And I'd say, where are your gloves? No gloves. Oh, many of them have no home. And then we each have our own stuff too. What are you carrying in your heart today? And everybody I know, everybody I've talked to, including myself, is stressed to the max. It's like, whoo, Christmas couldn't come soon enough. So where is the joy? Are we just saying words? How can we sing of joy when all that other stuff pulls us down? Does singing rejoice make the church, make us look like we've lost our minds? How do we have the audacity to sing about joy when the world and our own seems so far from it? And does talking about joy make the church and our faith look irrelevant? Because the world will look at us and go, joy? What's wrong with you people? I think it makes us more relevant. Because we better be the people of joy, because it ain't coming from anywhere else. Tell me I'm wrong. So I have two things to say to you about joy. And first of all, it does have 2 syllables. Y'all got to learn how to say it right. Joy. Yeah. Got a lot of O's in there. Right? But first, and I'm dead serious about this. Joy is not surface happiness. It's not about feeling good. If joy meant simply feeling good, we could take a joy pill. Or one of those pot cookies. You don't think I know about such things. Well, I've never done it myself, but I have good friends that do. We could take a joy pill and poof, rejoice. And where would we be the next day? And even worse, despair, because it's fake joy. It's fake feeling good. And that's not how joy works. Joy is what fills you about something good. It is the well we draw from, called God. This is why there's folks, even in the midst of horror, can find joy. So the first is joy is not surface happiness. It's not about feeling good. It's about really having a well you go to. You have that joy about something good called God. Second is joy is a choice. Now, I want you to look at the top and the inside of your bulletin. I put 2 really good quotes today. Please. Everybody with me? Everybody got the glasses on? Yeah, I know how. See, I live with one of those. Gotta have glasses, yep. Wes Stafford said, joy is a decision, a really brave one, about how you're going to respond to life. It takes courage to be joy in the midst of all the horror, right? It's easier to go along and be Eeyore. It's a decision, and it takes courage. And then Henry Nouwen, the great spiritual writer, he said, joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. If you don't read anything else over Christmas, get the book. It'll be a present to yourself that Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama wrote called The Book of Joy. Fabulous. It is a choice we make, and we have to choose it every day. And see, here comes Advent. It's the quiet season. It's Christmas gets all the hoo-ha. Advent is what makes it real. Advent comes and reminds us year after year that in the midst of doubts, in the midst of fears, in the midst of all the crap that's going on, in the midst of our stress and our worries and our sadness and our pain, guess who shows up? Emmanuel. God shows up right when we need God. Emmanuel. God with us. Is it God against us? Is it God over to the side? Is it God way down the path? No. What is it? God with us, right where we are, right in our mess. And here comes in Advent, Emmanuel reminded us, don't be afraid. Nothing is impossible, and there still are reasons to have joy. So we can choose to be buoyed by joy because we know we have something that will fill us. But this is what's such a kick in the pants about our faith. It doesn't come in a cataclysmic, thunderous big show of power. That's how I would have done it. Right? Yeah. I know myself. God chose a better way. The most ordinary human way. The way we each entered the world, an innocent child. You cannot be around a baby and not be joyful. See how it works? Except right now.
Right on cue.
Thanks, Gracie. Gotta live up to your name there, kid. Last week, I told you that Christ was born in a mess. Christ will be born into our mess. And he's almost here. To show us the extraordinary presence of God, to fill our reservoir with joy, that something good will fill us when nothing else does. And all we have to do is choose to embrace it. We must choose joy. So I thought I'd start. Marianne Mazur taught me, leaders go first. And I want to lift up places I found joy this past week. I saw joy in Bobby Sussman at our coat drive Thursday night. He was hiring a kite. I thought it was either the coat giveaway or those pot cookies because it was joyful. He's like, I could do this all day, but I have to go sell jewelry. But there was joy. I saw joy in Peter giving out turkeys the day before Thanksgiving that week. He came up to me last week. That was the best thing I've done all year. I saw joy in Lori delivering that baby stuff to Samantha and JP. She had 3 big papers still due. She hadn't slept. She was exhausted and cranky. And when she unloaded her car, and this young woman came out in a tank top in the cold because she didn't have a coat. And we just kept unloading this baby stuff. There was joy. I saw joy when Kim Martinez Cordova was here right in this little spot because we move everything around, helping Jackie from, where's Jackie from? Burundi. Y'all don't even know where that is. But anyway, she's from there, and she doesn't even know how to hold a pencil to sketch letters because she had no education, much less English. And that Kim Martinez comes out of that English as a second language, hiring a kite every week because she's helping Jackie. And I saw the joy. It was exhausted joy, but I saw joy in Lynn when she said, we got all the cots over, we're ready for the shelter. I saw that day a few weeks ago when Julia, at the end of her amazing presentation, her life story, greeted each person with an embrace. Tears were flowing, but what was underneath it? Joy. I saw it when I was with our kids at Wow Wednesday. I get a time, just about 15 minutes with the kids each week. Our 11-year-olds and 10 and 12, that little, we call moonlights, they're amazing. And I said, I know you have a list of all the things you want Santa to bring you. What do you want God to bring you at Christmas? What do you need? And they finally, they said there's silly things. Then they got serious. This is what they want God to bring them. Positivity. Safety. Patience. And we talked about how their life would be different if they had those things. And they knew their pastor was listening. There was joy there. Amongst the string cheese, but there was joy. And I bet we'll see joy when we go sing carols to our homebound this afternoon. Did you know how much of the joy I saw came out of you because you gave to others? Gave time or a coat or service to others? You see, giving of yourself to things that matter is the greatest source of joy. I always tell people, oh, my life is horrible. They come to me and they're like, what can I do? I said, volunteer. You cannot give a person a plate of food and stay the same. It's not possible. Go give a baby a diaper. Maybe now. yeah, Becky's like, get right here. But I mean, go and volunteer at our food pantry. I took those kids from Wow Wednesday to the food pantry. And the first thing they said when they got in the car and they were just elated, they said, can we come back and do it next week? No, because you have to practice spells for Christmas, right? Giving of yourself to things that matter is one of the greatest sources of joy. So next week, when you fill out your pledge card and you bring your financial commitment to church next week for our Pledge Sunday on Christmas Sunday, people are like, how do you do that? We are responding to God's greatest gift of the Christ. But think about the joy you'll receive in giving to God. Think about how you can dig deep and keep supporting all the wonderful ministries of our church. And I'm going to outline them. Because you give, we will have children's ministries. Because you give, we will take care of people like Lucille Wells. Reverend Susan has faithfully visited our hometown all year. And aren't we glad she did now? Because you give, our church will have wonderful and inspiring music. Sometimes sweet and quiet, and other times it's big and gusto. But look at what we have because you give. Because you give, your church has meaningful worship every week. At least I hope you do. Because you give, our church is the underwriter, so to speak, in space and time and staff for our not-for-profit. Think what Nourish does. We feed thousands of people a year. We shelter them, and it's going to hit this Wednesday a bitter cold. We take care of refugees and immigrants when other people shun them. We give them food, a safe place, and a little education. We give babies a fighting chance in Bridgeport. Because you give, your church will continue to be a place of extravagant welcome. And all those folks that other churches reject, the LGBTQ, all the other letters, all the other situations, they will know extravagant welcome here. Because you give, your church will have a future. Did you hear what I said? Because we all give, we will have a future. Giving of yourself to things that matter is one of the greatest sources of joy. So if this church means something to you, I need you to give. This year is critical. This year is going to turn the tide. Church matters to you. Please give. And so in spite of everything going on in the world, we're going to sing. Where's Tom? Get him ready. Okay? All right, Tom, get ready. We're going to sing. Good Christian friends, community, church family, rejoice with your heart and your soul and your voice. For Jesus Christ was born for this. For this. For your mess, for you. Emmanuel shall come, and just in the nick of time. May it be so, and thanks be to God. Amen. given me joy. And so as we do it, and we've got another beautiful choir piece, Lo Out Air, a Rose Air Bloom. That is so hard to say. Who wrote that? Okay. But we're going to sing that, and somebody's going to go fetch our kids. And we're going to enjoy our wonderful choir. Right?
Right.
And we welcome, see, our Pearl Scholars are done for the semester, but we have 2 with us. Right? Hey! You're here, Dora. Where's Dora? Oh, right there. Yeah. Thank you all, because usually they all skedaddle, and they love us so much they show back up to church. All right, good job. We need you, we love you, and we appreciate you, and the rest of you too. Yes, even you, Don.
Yeah, right.
name. Amen. Good job, kids. Now, just gather around real quick. Y'all sit down. Please. Today we're going caroling, and we're going to let adults come with us because they want us to have fun, right? And we're going to go, we have 4 places we're going to go and sing, okay? Christmas carol? Yes. And if you go, I've got a whole little lunch for you. Yes, different locations of people that are members of our church but can't ever come to church because they're homebound. They can't get out of their house.
Wait, do you mean different locations like the place?
This is what Wednesday is like.
Say you have like a house right here. Do you mean different locations in the house? Or
No, we're gonna go sing in the house, and we're gonna go sing at an apartment place with Miss Carter. We're gonna go to Judy Wilkinson's. I've got them all mapped out. Huh? Judy Wilkinson, you know her, the sweet little lady with white hair. Always sits right there. Okay. Now, all right, but here's the deal, and I want you all to hear this. This is good because they need encouragement. Next Sunday is Christmas Sunday. It's the biggie. And our starlights and moonlights are going to sing with our big choir. Cool John Lennon song. Oh, see, I'm letting a little secret out of the bag. And the moonlights are going to play the bells. And it's beautiful. So, parents, they have to be here early. Because bells are early on in the service because, where's Mr. Alex? Alex has been selected as the bass soloist in The Messiah at Carnegie Hall. So he has to leave at 10:30 next Sunday to zip to New York and sing about Jesus. And I told him one time would be okay if we could have the bells early in the service, which means parents and kids have to get here to practice before. I'm just doing that big announcement. All right? Can we do all that? Oh, it's going to be fabulous. And then we have our Christmas party afterwards. It's going to be so great. Don't yawn. It's going to be great. Okay, yeah. All right. So,
what type of snacks are you having?
we have all sorts of good snacks. See what I mean? If it's not, there's certain snacks. Well, actually, you need to talk to your parents because everybody's bringing an appetizer. And that's why we're going to eat. And then I'll make sure you have some spring juice. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now we're in. All right. All right, kids, you know that we love you, right? Right? Yeah. All right. Who else loves you? God, and yeah. But listen, you got your parents and God and me. You got everything you need, right? All right. Go be with your mom and dad. I'm sorry, kid. Are you all right? Did it curl your hair? Oh, no. That's all right. All right, big people. Look at your blue on the inside of it. Next Sunday, biggie, Christmas Sunday. Big sermon, big music. Bring your pledge. We're having Pledge Commitment Sunday. And then following, we're having our church family Christmas party. And there's all the details. It's at the Perry House in Stratford. Isn't that going to be cool? We have a whole little room for the kids so we can have our adult things and they can have the kid things. Now, here's what you're bringing. An appetizer to share. Please make sure it's something I really like. Not as bad as it is, aren't I? Yes. And then we're having a cookie swap. If you want to participate, Ms. Lori's doing it, you bring 3 dozen cookies. 1 dozen goes on the dessert table for Reverend Sarah to sample. And then 2 goes into the mix, and then you get 2 dozen back. All right? I just know I like cookies, so she's going to take it from there. And then we have our big Deacon's Theme Basket Auction. It's going to be fabulous. Fabulous. And this helps us have our money for our worship stuff from Deacons. So it's going to be nothing but fun, and I hope you come. This is our time together. You know, we're a commuter church. We have people from New York to New Haven. And the time we see each other is these special occasions. So then on Christmas Eve, that's the day before Christmas. Now, this is a little different. We're going to have a prep for the live nativity scene. It's going to be all up in there. It's going to be beautiful. They're going to get dressed and have a snack. The kids do better if they have a snack, as do ministers. And then we have special music from this crew at 4:45 and in our candlelight service right here with our live nativity in it. And we have a real live baby Jesus and nobody knows whose it is. It's a secret. And this is like the 6th year we've had a real live baby Jesus. We just keep having babies, which is a good thing. Anyway, that's at 5. And please come. It's a beautiful service, and you don't want to miss it. And then make sure after Christmas, you know, all of our members in discernment, except Eric, will be preaching for us. Dan Pettit, and then Haley Hudler, and then I'm preaching on the 12th. We're having fancy communion at Dinner Church because it's our only communion that Sunday, and the music is going to be knock your socks off. And then the 19th, Lori Scott preaches as our MID for MLK service. So we got a lot going on, even in the midwinter, right? Yeah.
We have a sacred conversation.
Oh, today. Today we have a sacred conversation following worship. Get a cookie, and then this is one Glenn and Janet planned because they're members of PFLAG, and that's Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gay People. PFLAG is Safe Families, and it's a safe place parents go to understand what is this about their kid. And so PFLAG is here today to present to us, and I think we'll learn a lot, and we'll think of Janet and Glenn who can't be here, but they put it all together. So, and we welcome our PFLAG people for Simple Easter here. So get something to eat and come back over, and we'll prepare for our sacred conversation.
Oh, don't forget staff gifts. Your last chance for staff gifts. If I have to stand up there next week and have nothing to give away, it won't be joy. So if you want joy, grab an envelope from me, or look, the lovely Carol Merrill. Thank you very much for your generosity.
All right, so it's that time of year. Jesus is coming. Look busy. We are. If you'd like to help with the shelter, we really need you. So see you then. All right? Now, what did I pick for the last one? Oh, angels. I love this one. Let's do 2 verses of it. Let's go.